Welcome to Night Story HQ. Tonight's story is about a house. Not just any house, but one that people avoid without knowing exactly why. A house with a past so unsettling, it's become a legend in its quiet little town. They call it House Number 13. Some say it's cursed. Others believe it's just a coincidence. But everyone agrees. Something about it isn't right. Number 13, Holloway Lane, was built in 1903 by a man named Charles Whitmore. He was wealthy, eccentric, and fascinated with the occult. After his wife died, he moved into the house alone and began hosting candlelit seances, claiming to communicate with the other side. In 1905, just 2 years after the house was finished, Charles was found dead in his parlor. There were no wounds, no signs of a struggle, just a frozen look of terror on his face. The housekeeper who found him said the room felt ice cold, even though the fire was still burning in the fireplace. She packed her things and left that very night. No one saw her again. Over the decades, many families moved into Number 13. None stayed for long. In 1910, the Dorsey family moved in with their young daughter, Emily. Within weeks, Emily began talking to someone she called the woman in the walls. She would sit for hours in the hallway, whispering and laughing at something no one else could see. Her parents thought it was just an imaginary friend, until Emily started screaming in her sleep, claiming the woman was angry. They moved out before the year ended. In 1924, the Masons moved in. Tragedy followed them quickly. The father lost his job, the mother became bedridden with an illness doctors couldn't explain, and both sons died in bizarre accidents within months of each other. One fell from the attic window. The other drowned in the backyard pond, even though he could swim. In 1957, newlyweds Peter and June Hartley bought the house. It was supposed to be the beginning of their life together, but just 3 months later, Peter was found dead in the bathtub. The strange part? The tub was empty. June claimed she had heard whispering in the walls. She later told a nurse that the house was breathing. She was committed to a psychiatric hospital and never returned. In 1973, a real estate investor named Gerald Langston bought the house with plans to renovate and sell it. He thought the stories were nonsense, just superstitions. He moved in temporarily to oversee the work. A journal found in the attic years later revealed his experience. He wrote that the basement door opened by itself every night at exactly 3:17. He heard footsteps above him when no one was there. Mirrors fogged up with messages like, "Get out," and "She's waiting." He wrote about hearing a child laugh in the middle of the night, even though he was alone. On Friday the 13th of June, 1974, Gerald vanished without a trace. His car was still in the driveway. His tools were untouched, but Gerald was gone. In 1997, a young couple named Maria and Thomas Caldwell moved in. They were expecting their first child. The house was affordable, spacious, and quiet. At first, everything seemed fine. Then the lights began flickering in the nursery. They heard lullabies playing late at night, even before their baby was born. Thomas started sleepwalking, always toward the basement. Maria's ultrasound images would disappear from the fridge, then reappear. Altered, with blurred faces and strange shadows. One stormy night, Maria found Thomas at the bottom of the basement stairs. He was whispering to the dark. "She's coming. She lives here now." Their daughter was born a few weeks later. They named her Eliza. But Eliza never cried, never smiled. And every night, at 3:17, she would open her eyes and point at the closet. The Caldwells left the house when Eliza was 6 months old. They never spoke publicly about what happened. In 2013, a group of YouTubers known for paranormal challenges snuck into the house to film an overnight video. They laughed, made jokes, and taunted the ghosts. But halfway through the footage, something changed. The camera started shaking, there were screams, a door slammed, and then silence. Only one of the 5 explorers returned. He never gave an interview. The only thing he ever said was, "It doesn't want us to leave. It wants us to stay. Forever." Over the years, people have tried to explain the strange events surrounding House Number 13. Some say the house is built over a spiritual portal, a thin spot between this world and the next. They believe 3:17 a.m. is the moment when that boundary is at its weakest. Others believe Charles Whitmore made a deal with something dark, that the house itself is the price, or the prison. And then there are the skeptics, who say it's all in people's heads. That fear spreads like a virus, and once you believe the house is cursed, your mind fills in the rest. But here's what we do know. In 2022, the local government ordered the house to be demolished. A crew was sent in with heavy equipment. Everything was ready. But the machines wouldn't work. One of them wouldn't start. Another had a sudden engine failure. One worker swore he saw a little girl staring at him from the upstairs window, even though the house was empty. The demolition was canceled. And the house still stands. Number 13, Holloway Lane. Silent. Watching. Waiting. Now it's your turn. Do you think house number 13 is cursed? Or is it just an unlucky number wrapped in decades of fear and rumor? Have you ever experienced something that couldn't be explained? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you've had a paranormal encounter of your own, share it. We might feature your story in a future episode. Thank you for listening to Night Story HQ. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you never miss a tale from the dark side. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and whatever you do, don't open the door at 3:17 a.m. Good night.